From zero to hero. This is what the stories of the protagonists of almost every part of the GTA series look like. Each main character of the series faces many difficulties. After each success, there are 2 failures, then 1 failure, 3 successes, and so on, until the whole story ends with a happy ending. Unfortunately, with minor exceptions, because sometimes the victory is only apparent, and that was the case with Niko Bellic. The average person, even a person with a very strong character, would not be able to get up after so many blows. How many tons of crap poured over Nikolai's head is hard to believe. This thought led us to create today's video, in which our goal is to show how much respect this man deserves and why he is the toughest protagonist of all the others we've met so far in the GTA series. Welcome to the Gaming Investigators channel, and welcome to another episode. Niko was born in 1978 in Serbia and grew up in difficult times. During one of his conversations with Dwayne Forge, Niko mentions that the house he grew up in didn't even have electricity until he was 12.
I can't explain that shit.
Where I grew up, we had no electricity until I was 12.
What's more, during the game, there's the issue of Niko's father, who was considered an aggressive alcoholic.
She was such a strong woman. She'd have to be to deal with my pig of a father.
I was sorry to hear of his death, Roman. We have not spoken about it.
That is very kind of you, cousin, but you would be the only one who is sorry that he died. His only kind words were for the men who'd lend him money to get drunk with.
Just like my father, then.
More than a family resemblance made them brothers, Niko. We know this. At least they didn't fuck us up, though. For all their drunken meanness, we made it through. We're normal.
In turn, in one of the conversations with Patrick McCreary, Niko reveals that he had a brother who died during the Yugoslav wars.
But at least you can look in the mirror and feel okay? Feel like a man?
I saw my brother get killed a long time ago. He was a good friend of Roman's, too.
And what we think is most shocking is that during one of the conversations with Kate McCreary, Niko announces that he found out that his aunt, Roman Bellic's mother, was raped and murdered sometime after Roman left for the United States.
What was the war like?
It was great. You got to see people turn into animals and your close friends die.
Sorry, I knew it was a dumb question. It's just I hoped it wasn't so awful for you.
No. It was seeing your home destroyed. Seeing members of your family die. My aunt, Roman's mother, she was raped and murdered. I found her. Roman does not know. He thought she died in a house fire.
Knowing that Roman would be even more devastated if he found out the true circumstances of his mother's death, Niko preferred to cover up what happened by telling him that his mother died in a house fire. Despite all the horrors that happened to Niko when he was still a child, we learned during the Taking in the Trash mission that the boy had dreams, because during his mission, he mentions that in his youth, he dreamed of becoming an astronaut.
When I arrived in Liberty City, I didn't imagine that I'd become a trash collector. Didn't think I'd be muscle for the mob, neither.
Every immigrant's dream, ain't it? Being a wise guy, I mean, not trash collecting.
Really? I wanted to be an astronaut when I was growing up, not a gangster.
Unfortunately, it got worse over time. At some point, Niko had to forget about his dreams because at a very young age, he joined the army. During the war, Niko both witnessed and committed many atrocities, which led to his cynical outlook on life and the development of symptoms of depression and withdrawal from social life. Eventually, Niko's unit of 15 men, most of whom were close friends of the GTA 4 protagonist, were attacked by enemy forces. Everyone died in the ambush except for Darko Brevic, Florian Kravic, and of course, Niko himself. Niko knew that if he had not betrayed his group, it must have been either Florian or Darko or both. Therefore, he vowed to discover who was really behind it and kill the culprit, not only to get revenge, but also to close a chapter in his life and be able to start it over.
But one of us betrayed the group. It was a setup. For money. 12 people died. 3 escaped. I know the traitor was not me. So for 10 years, I've been searching for the other 2.
Another example that also had a direct negative impact on Niko's life was his relationship with Ray Bulgarin. Mentally devastated by having his entire unit brutally wiped out by the enemy, Niko Bellic decides to turn to crime after having trouble finding steady work. Niko spent the next decade operating in the European criminal underworld, eventually ending up in prison. After being released, he went to work for a human trafficking ring run by Ray Bulgarin. Initially, everything seemed to be going in the right direction, but soon, Niko experienced another unfortunate event. Well, a ship taking part in a smuggling operation sank in the Adriatic Sea, and Niko miraculously escaped death. However, this was not the end of the problems, because everyone and everything that was on the ship was lost. Bulgarin believed that Niko deliberately sunk the ship as a form of sabotage and stole his money, which of course was not true. However, Bulgarin's connections in Europe were so great that Niko, fearing for his own life, decided to flee, joining the merchant navy.
Did you deal with him like you did Darden and Bleeder?
He had too many connections for that. I had to leave. He is one of the reasons I came here.
In the end, the past continued to follow him all the way to Liberty City. Ray Bulgarin apparently got the tip that Niko had moved to this American metropolis. To make matters worse, Ray Bulgarin was a friend of Dmitry Raskolov, who, like a cunning scoundrel, set Niko up moments after the protagonist killed Mikhail Faustin on his order.
Left a good friend of mine out of pocket. Big time.
Hello, Niko.
Hello, Mr. Bulgarin.
Where is our money?
I don't know. I didn't rob you.
Really?
We were busted a mile off the coast. I had to swim for my life. I don't know what happened. I nearly drowned.
Huh. My heart is bleeding.
I did my best! I didn't fuck up!
So just a few days after everything started to go pretty well for Niko Bellic, and when he began to cooperate with the Russians and prove his usefulness in their ranks, everything was messed up again. As we mentioned in one of the previous videos, Niko definitely didn't think about his decision when it came to murdering Mikhail Faustin. His employer had given him no reason to turn against him, and so Faustin may have been unscrupulous, but he was loyal, at least in Niko Bellic's case. Well, because we also saw with our own eyes that Faustin didn't care much about the lives of those less useful associates.
So, Niko Bellic, you think it's okay to kill my employees?
If he is an asshole, yes.
I agree.
So as we can see, Niko didn't make the best decision to trust Dmitry. This quickly turned out to be a terrible choice because, as we mentioned earlier, not only did Dmitry send Bulgarin on Niko, but he tried to murder Niko many times during the game's storyline. But not only the main character found himself in huge trouble. Well, Niko's cousin, Roman, seriously suffered from it a few times, but luckily he came out of these troubles unscathed. For instance, during the Roman Sorrow mission, the man lost all his possessions, that is, his apartment and taxi company.
Holy fuck, it's fucking burning! The whole place! I've got to go in! I've got to get something!
Leave it, cousin.
As if that wasn't enough, Roman was kidnapped soon after and barely escaped with his life.
Niko, please help me!
You are Niko Bellic.
Also, as you've seen so far, Niko was unbreakable. He rose after each blow, finally dealing with the considerable problems that faced him. However, as we know, he was not rewarded for all this. Well, regardless of which ending Niko chooses in GTA 4, he will still receive another big blow. At one point, Jimmy Pegorino is on the line. The man needs Niko's favor once again, but this time, Niko, fulfilling Pegorino's will have to cooperate with the person he hates. Besides, the task performed for James is difficult in itself and involves collecting heroin. However, the main character of GTA 4 does not remain without a choice. At some point, he finds out where Dmitry is hiding, thanks to which he can try to take revenge on the man, which of course involves disregarding Jimmy's request, who will be furious with such a turn of events. Niko can also forget all the wrongs that Dmitry has done to him and fulfill the will of James Pegorino. If this option is selected, Niko realizes that it is very possible that Dmitry will not pass up this opportunity and will want to kill him again. And of course, that's what happens.
Niko Bellic, it's so good to be working with you again.
I cannot say I have the same enthusiasm for this partnership. Have you given them the H? I want to get this money and go home.
You know what? I thought, why should we hand over the H for this price? I thought it'd be easier if I just killed those guys and kept it.
Easier for who? What the fuck are you doing? Me and Phil are in their compound. What's going to happen when they find out?
If I was you, I'd go and get the money off them. It has to be on the site. That way we all win. Good luck, Niko.
Real hell breaks loose in the hangar, but fortunately, the main character and Phil Bell escape from there safe and sound. Everyone seems to be happy, especially Roman Bellic, who advised Niko to forget about all his troubles with Dmitri and make a deal. Also, finally, the Bellic cousins got rich big time. It also showed Niko to carry out his plan of ending his career as a criminal and stepping down as quickly as possible before anyone gets hurt. Niko, however, forgot that some people would not accept such a decision. At first, it might seem that everything will be fine, but at Roman's wedding, just after the bride and groom leave the church, the idyll is brutally interrupted by a hitman hired by Raskolov.
Niko Bellic?
Yes?
A gift from Dmitri Raskolov.
There's a scuffle in which Roman Bellic dies. So in the end, Bellic's hypocritical decision leads to karma coming back to him with a vengeance. When, in turn, Niko decides to deal with Dmitri at the end of Revenge, the situation will not be any better. Although many people consider choosing revenge to be the right choice, it cannot be said that everything ends there with a happy ending. Niko Bellic will indeed get rid of the person who stabbed him in the back and tried to make his life hell several times, but a new problem arises, namely James Pegorino, who is not happy that the protagonist has acted against his decision. This time, at Roman and Mallory's wedding, it is Pegorino who personally comes to the ceremony to exact his revenge. Niko and Roman indeed escape with their lives, but Kate, the woman Niko loved, dies.
You fucking double-crossing immigrant shit!
So as we can see, both endings end tragically for Niko Bellic. To sum up today's episode, in our opinion, Niko Bellic is by far the toughest main character of all the protagonists we've met so far. It's not like everything flows off Niko like water off a duck, and bad things don't affect him at all. You can often see how Niko suffers and how many bad thoughts run through his head. The developers in many cutscenes presented it perfectly. Nevertheless, the point is that a man overcomes all these evils and ultimately never gives up. In addition, he cares for his relatives, even though sometimes they don't make his life easier. Despite many unpleasant situations in his life that twisted his psyche, he continues to act morally. And of course, he doesn't always succeed. He is still a hired gun, and he still makes mistakes himself, often entering the same mess. Nevertheless, we can learn so many good character traits from him as a player. In our opinion, Niko is definitely the type of character that fits perfectly into the role of the protagonist of the game. That would be all for this episode. We recommend you watch the 2 videos that are now appearing on your screen. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon.